Hello guys, and welcome back to our Skyrim Races videos. And well, first of all, this is just an overview video of the races that we've gone over so far. But one thing that I wanted to say was thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much to all the lovely support I'm getting, and all the nice messages and everything. It makes a change actually, because a few days ago I was wondering whether I'd made a mistake or not. I was still going to continue on, but I was wondering how much more negative response I'd get. But anyway, it all sort of changed after I'd sort of put up the Argonian and the other ones that I put up on the day. That I put the Argonian and Dark Elf, etc. videos up. Anyway, so yeah, thank you everybody, particularly all my new subscribers. Over the last few days, my subscriber rate has nearly doubled. Which is very cool, so thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. It was super exciting every time I just checked my emails, or my phone would go off and I had a look and it was like 5 more subscriptions, so I would have a look at my emails and it was like 10 more subscriptions. It's been crazy actually, so thanks very much. Normally it's only a few a day, so it's it's made a massive change. Anyway, so today you may notice actually that we have got an example of all of the races. I've put together a picture, a little montage of my favourite images from all of the ones that we've looked at. It's the males. I've only done the males because I'm a sexist. Okay, got that? Sorry ladies, but I hate you. No, I'm not really. Okay. It's because I'm lazy. Anyway, I wanted to talk through the individual race bonuses, just because a few people have actually said to me in messages, why don't you talk about the race bonuses? And I thought, hey, that's a really good idea. Why don't we talk about the race bonuses? Just quickly, not like really painstakingly bang on about it forever. So, like in all the other Morrowind and Oblivion and Arena and Daggerfall, they've all had racial bonuses, so there was boons to being of a certain race. So we start with the Red Guard, that we know that they are typically quite good with a long sword. I'm not actually going to cover what skills they've got, bonuses of, just their sort of racial perks. So in Skyrim, they've got something called Adrenaline Rush, which I think you used to have in the other ones. But basically, it's a Fortify Strength for 50 points for 60 seconds, Fortify Agility, Fortify Speed, Fortify Endurance. They're all for 50 points for 60 seconds, but also Fortify Health for 25 points. I'm not sure if they had quite such a powerful bonus before. They also have an innate resist to poison and to disease, and it's a very massive 75%, believe it or not. Yeah, it is. So that's quite something. Well, yes, I suppose it would make it more difficult for a Red Guard to become a vampire in that case. 75% more difficult, because vampirism is contracted as a disease unless you get it forced upon you, like you could in the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion. We've got the Orcs, or the Orzammar, these fellas here, and they've got a berserker. A berserk power, which is quite something actually. They've got Fortify Fatigue for 200 points, which is quite something. Fortify Health for 20 points, Fortify Strength for 50 points, and Drain Agility, which is on themselves, for 100 points. And this is all for 60 seconds, for 1 minute worth of that. So that's their racial special power. Along with that, they also have a innate resist magic for 25%. Which did they used to have that? I don't think they did. Anyway, and then we've got the Nord right here. Here's our Nord. I think they've got new powers. In Skyrim, they've got a power called Frost Damage, which basically is a 50 points frost damage on touch. Which is, I'm sure that they didn't have that power before, but that's what they've got in Skyrim. So it's like they can cast a sort of a frost magic spell. Then they've got something called Ward, or Ward, but it looks like Ward, W-O-A-D. And it's a shield for 30 points, and for 60 seconds. So it'd be a magical shield. And then they've also got Resist Frost 50%, which I think is the typical standard one that they always seem to have. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Anyway, moving on to the Khajiit. Now, they've got Eye of Night, which is basically Night Eye from the previous ones. And you get Night Eye for 30 seconds on self. But they also have one called Eye of Fear, which is Demoralize for up to level 25 for 30 seconds, which is quite a high level, actually. I think Demoralize causes people to flee, doesn't it? I think that's what it does. Yes. Anyway, shall we move on to Johnny Depp here? And the Imperials. So they've got actually... I think it's a new spell called Star of the West, and basically it absorbs fatigue on touch for 100 points, which is quite an odd power to have, to absorb fatigue. But I suppose if you're absorbing your enemy's fatigue, they'll wear out and you'll become invigorated. But then we've also got the very staple Voice of the Emperor, which is a charm effect for 30 points for 30 seconds, which is always very good for mercantile type skills, speaking to people. Yes. Anyway, shall we move on to our lovely friend, the Ultima, the High Elf. He doesn't actually have any magical spells or powers, however he does have innate abilities or bonuses. That being, he's got weakness to fire, weakness to frost, and weakness to shock, all 25 points, so he's straight off the bat weaker. But he has a resist magic. Resist disease for 75 points, which I think is quite interesting. Yeah, which probably is make it more difficult for an Ultima like a Red Guard to become basically infected with vampirism. I don't know if you can get lycanthropy as well, so you could become a werewolf. I heard rumours that you could become a werewolf in Skyrim. If you were going to become a werewolf anywhere, it would be Skyrim, really, wouldn't it? Because I think that's where they sort of tied in the werewolfness in with that. Anyway, but you also have a fortified magicka level of 100 points, because obviously the Ultima are very magic orientated creatures. Should we move on to the Dark Elf? I like this guy. Anyway, like normal, they've got Ancestor Guardian, which basically means that they can summon up a fallen ancestor to come and protect them, which is a staple of the game. I think they've always been able to do that. And they also have, very interestingly, resist fire, 75%, which is quite high. So if you were going to play a Dark Elf, you would have a bonus straight away against dragons that have fire breath, which is something to bear in mind. I'm going to play a Dark Elf anyway. I already decided that, but you might want to consider that yourself. So then we've got Bretons. So this Breton, he's got Fortify Magicka of 50 points. Like the... what? No. What the hell? Get lost. Anyway. Skype. That's good. Then they've got, I think, is this new or not? I don't know. But they've got something called Dragon Skin, which is basically a 50-point shield for 60 seconds, which is quite interesting. And then we've got Resist Magicka for 50%. So that is also rather on the interesting side as well. Moving on, I suppose, to the Bosmer, the Wood Elf. They've got Beast Tongue. Now, this Beast Tongue, you can command a creature up to level 20. So basically, you can have the power to control or have beasts basically come under. They become like your little henchmen, basically, which is quite a cool thing to do. So if you're out in the woods and you're getting attacked by wolves, you can command one, and then that'll fight for you, which I think is sounds quite cool. And then these guys have also got Resist Disease 75%. So that's quite something as well. I think what's up with you didn't normally have such high levels of resistance. I'm pretty sure of it. Anyway, talking about resistance, actually, the Argonians, they've got 75% resist disease as well. There's lots of disease-resistant characters, actually, which is odd. But they also are immune to poison. So I presume that means that you can't poison an Argonian, which is quite something. But the major bone that they've got is that they have permanent water breathing. It's not just that they can breathe under water when you activate the ability. They can constantly, it's permanent, which I think that's a massive perk. So all in all, considering all the perks and boons and things that they've given these characters, I personally feel that they've really given each class, each race, some really, really powerful bonuses. And particularly if you consider the bonuses seem very, very strong. So I suppose it'll basically mean that instead of being only slightly distinguishing one race from another, they're really drawing some markers between the races, and by increasing the bonus levels, it's going to massively affect the whole game mechanics of playing with an individual race, which sounds quite cool, actually. I'm really excited, actually, about having these abilities, and see how that affects the game as a whole. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Like I said, I really, really appreciate all the support that I've been getting. Thank you very much. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Hello. All my old subscribers, please play nice with them, okay? They're all friendly people. They're all nice people. We can get nice messages. Lots of people saying that they love my laugh. Well, thanks very much. Lots of people saying that they like my accent. Well, thanks very much. I'm sure your accent's just as lovely as anybody else's. Although somebody said that it was ridiculous. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that it's ridiculous because it's funny, or I don't know. Anyway, if you think mine's funny or ridiculous, you should hear my granddad or grandfather. Anyway, well, that's enough. Anyway, I didn't want this to be too long, but I think it's become too long. Anyway, that is enough for one day, I suppose. So until then, until next time, stay safe, take care of yourself, and goodbye.